If you would have named one show from my childhood that had the most impact on me, it would most definitely be The A-Team. The show of four Vietnam veterans escaping captivity after being convicted for a crime they didn't commit and helping those out in need was really something that stuck with me. I don't remember exactly when I started watching the show, but it was always around in some way or the other. I taped the theme song on cassette. We used to play the A-Team as a kid. Most of my friends would pick Faceman and BA, but I would always result in picking Hannibal because he's the brains of the bunch, or Murdoch. I was jealous when they landed in Holland and that I couldn't be there, which in hindsight was for the best. The A-Team had such a lasting impact on me that turning on the intro still fills me with happiness till this day. I never had a lot of paraphernalia of the A-Team and some of the stuff I had vanished without a trace, but I do remember having a large B.A. Baracus figurine, though I'm not quite sure if it was a large version or the one I'll present to you in this video. First, we start off with this 1983 action figure of Mr. T. He is quite sturdy with thick feeling plastic, but thankfully, and that's the most important thing, he can stand up without falling over. The sculpt of the face isn't all that, but you can clearly recognize him. The model has joints in his knees, but not in his arms. And I never was able to complete the team since there were, of course, 4 members. But I do also have a Templeton Peck figure who is a bit more wobbly in the legs, but I think this is acceptable for what it is and especially the era from which it comes. As you can see, maybe 1983 as inscribed on the back. It's a bit fuzzy. The sculpt is pretty fine. Look at that Colgate smile. But for some reason they made a squishy face for face and not for BA, which always amused me a little bit. Then there are the goodies that came with this figure, this radio pack for example. We also have BA's toolbox, which as far as I know is still complete. There's bolt cutters, a metal saw, a hammer, a fancy monkey wrench, or whatever it's called. Then there's this strange object. I don't know what it is. I never did. And finally, this skewed screwdriver. I unfortunately didn't have the other figures, and some of the goodies went missing over the years, like for example their guns and I think other backpack kind of things. Maybe they are somewhere in some box. I don't know. I hope I will find them one day.
Wait a minute.
So there's that. These are my A-Team action figures. I'm glad I kept them. And maybe one day they'll be complete.
You better hope so.
Next up is this amazingly awesome 50-piece BA Baracus puzzle. He is wearing his nifty gold-colored getup, with which he undoubtedly can pity the fool. I haven't taken the puzzle pieces out in quite some time now, because I'm afraid they might get broken. And there is no indication of the time period from which this came, but I've had it for quite some time now, and this is definitely an heirloom of some sort. The first book I recently acquired is this novel, which tells us the story of what actually happened in Vietnam and what the crime was that they didn't commit.
Yeah.
The back merely tells us that the tough talking, fast acting A-team sharpened their skills on the battlefields of Vietnam, but what formed them from a finely trained band of soldiers to soldiers on the city streets. This new and original story turns the spotlight on the A-team's hell-raising past. So there are multiple novels in this series, but they mainly are stories that were already presented in the show, and I have no interest in acquiring those. But this one was interesting because we finally got the real story behind what happened to them.
Hey, man, how long are we going to listen to this jive? When can we get something to eat?
It's a thin paperback with plenty of pages. It'll be an easy read, no doubt. I haven't started on it yet, but I will soon. Then there are these A-Team annual books. They are compendiums of small stories, both in novel and comic styles, with new adventures and other things that happen to them. As you can see, this is the 1986 one.
Oh, that's good.
With nice art in it.
My.
I mean, look at it. Nicely done. Helicopter.
That's pretty good.
Mercenaries. We have Hannibal Smith.
Yeah, you're getting there all right.
And there's a comic book version. Different styles.
What's the problem?
Here we have another artist's rendition. Very nice BA.
Yeah.
BA smacking the hell out of people. As he does. This little fella, probably a villain. More smacking.
Yeah.
Then we have the 1984, besides the 1986, with similar art. Swamp Wreck.
I mean, done something so absolutely ludicrous that you wish you could have moved to a deserted island and hide your head in the sand.
We have little profiles on all the members spread out over the several annual books. Some humoristic cartoons as well are incorporated in this. Look at this. Imagine what could have been if the A-Team had more funding behind it. You could have had horse chases, a strange face man, more similar to the first face man in Mexican Sleigh Ride, in my opinion.
Should be a great second half.
Not all the art is very good. Here's Murdoch's profile.
I should cut it out, fool. I had enough of this.
Some filler pages. I don't know what this is. Are they making them? Templeton Peck. And this beautiful car. Overall, this is very fun, and I'm gonna try to get the other ones. They're either quite expensive or pretty cheap, depending on the shipping costs, which can be staggering. And then finally, this amazing game, which will lead us to, drumroll, this one, the actual A-Team game. BA aids you in the hunt of the secret formula. Let's have a look. This is the official A-Team board game. The cover stating that you get a color picture of BA within the game. And lo and behold, a colored picture of BA in the box. But it's part of the box, so you can't take it out. Simply amazing. And then we have the board and everything we need to play the game. All of the game is pretty simple. You have to get this. It's a top secret ingredient too. A lemonade recipe. Our heroes over here, they will have to run through this complex, take the top secret lemonade recipe.
Wait a minute.
And get out. Towards the van, of course. After which they will do whatever with this top secret lemonade recipe. I'm not making this up, it's actually in the manual. What's more, this isn't a cooperative game, so the team members are actually fighting over this top secret lemonade recipe. Except BA. He's in the box and on the board, but not as a playable character. Instead, we get Amy Amanda Allen. We also get Templeton Faceman Peck, Howling Mad Murdoch, and of course John Hannibal Smith. Not being able to play as B.A. Baracus in this game is quite frankly a disgrace. They could have easily changed Amy Amanda Allen and put her in the place of B.A., who is helping you through the game and the laboratory complex. But for some reason they didn't, and yeah, it's one of those strange decisions Clipper, aka Parker Brothers, did for whatever reason they had.
We talking Looney Tunes, that's what we talking, fool.
It's quite frankly insane. You play the game in turns, rolling one of these dice and moving the amount of pips you rolled. You'll land on spaces, giving you bonuses or penalties depending on the rules that I'm gonna explain to you after this. So at the beginning of the game, every player will get 3 of these cards randomly shuffled and dealt out from this deck. These cards can be used during the game to either help yourself or hinder another player in his quest to get the secret lemonade. First we have this blank card, which gives you absolutely nothing.
Wait a minute.
Because it's blank.
Yeah.
Then we have this stop card, which if you give to another person, he or she will have to skip a turn and pretty much lose the round, giving them a disadvantage. Then we have these cards, which are from left to right Weapon Lab cards, Secret Weapon Lab cards, and Super Secret Weapon Lab cards. I don't know why there are Weapon Lab cards in a place where they make lemonade, but if you land on one of these spots, you can use the cards, use the corresponding symbol, and get the additional amount of steps on the board. This one, for example, will give you 4 steps if you land on a weapons lab. The other 2 will give you 7 steps if you land on one of those locations. Here's one, for example, for the Super Secret Weapons Lab location, which will give you a whopping 7 more steps on the board. Finally, we have this guard symbol, which I will explain to you later since it's also found on the board. We also have several BA cards, which will always help you. These, for example, will give you an extra die wall. These will send you to one of the special spots on the board with the special labs. And the third one, for example, will give you 3 extra spaces to move on. There are a couple of other like this, but they all are beneficiary for yourself because BA is there to help. As you can see, there are several icons on the board as well. They are similar to the cards, so if you land, for example, on the BA area, you will have to roll another die and you can move that amount of spaces forward. If you land on this area, a guard will notice you and combat will ensue. When you engage into combat, 1 or 2 things can happen. You either win or you lose. If you lose, you will skip a turn and you will not be able to move again. If you win, for example, with a roll of 3, you will be able to move your character 3 more spaces. So when combat starts, you will take both dice. One is for the guard, the other is for you. Doesn't really matter which one. You then proceed to roll and look at the result. The 1 is for the guard, the 2 is for you, so you won. You are now allowed to move on 2 spaces. And you land on a safe zone, an area where no one can touch you at any point in time during the game. As previously stated, if you land on one of the laboratory spaces, you can look at your hand and see if you have a corresponding card and move that amount of spaces forward. Similar to this one, the super lab or the super secret lab, it doesn't matter, you can move 7 forward. This is the super secret lab, and here you can move also 7 forward unless you draw another card, of course. If you land on this spot, cameras will notice you and you are able to challenge one of your other players to something. It isn't explained in the rules what you actually do, so we just roll the die and let the one who won the combat or verbal disagreement and move the amount of pips he or she rolled.
Why you always trying your crazy logic on me?
This area on the board signifies a narrow passageway. If characters land on this passageway, other characters cannot move past them, though the character in the passageway still can. Characters on these spots are pretty much safe, but can only be touched with action cards. The final space on the board is of course the secret lab, where you can find the top secret lemonade recipe. And if you land on this space for the first time, you take the top secret lemonade recipe, put it on your character, and get the fuck out.
No more Mr. Nice Guy.
As previously mentioned, however, this is not a cooperative game, so all the players can take away the top secret documents if you have them. You can achieve this by simply landing on the character who has the secret documents and starting a fight. Yes, you heard it correctly. The A-team fights among each other to get the secret documents for the lemonade. You win the game by being the first player who runs back through the complex and arrives with the secret lemonade recipe back to the van.
I want my van back.
Like said, players can take away the recipe at any time when you land on the same space and win the fight. The normal rules state that you can only attack players once they also landed on the final space, but we pretty much play it so it's okay to attack others when they have the document. This greatly speeds up this game and allows for a little bit more action. Cause let's face it, if you let the A-team fight among each other for a lemonade recipe, you might as well go all out.
I wouldn't bet on it, crazy man.
Once you arrive at the finish, the game ends, a winner is declared, and everyone of the team is friends again, I think. And then they will leave together and share the lemonade. Or maybe they won't. Maybe no one gets lemonade. I don't know. Usually the A-team only drinks milk because it's good for the bones. At least it's for kids. And lemonade is the complete opposite of that. So, I don't know. It's a mystery. Overall, this is a very light game that in the end offers more fun than you might expect. Throw some quotes in here and there and you'll have a good time. There's a missed opportunity of not having BA as a player character, but at least we got the lush, long-haired Amy and not the boy-cut one. That's inclusivity in 1984 for you. That's all about I can show you of the A-team goodies I have. I'm still looking for the books though, and buying toys at my age is a little bit of an overkill. All in all, I still love it when a plan comes together and I don't have no time for any jibber jabber. Let's hit it, BA.
When you're on the jazz, man, you're dangerous.